The crystalline walls of Xerion Maximum Security Penitentiary hummed with energy barriers as Naz conducted her weekly rounds through the alien wing. As head medical officer, she had processed thousands of prisoners from across the galaxy. But the human in cell block 7 still puzzled her. Raza sat cross-legged on his metal bunk, sketching mathematical equations on the wall with a piece of charcoal he'd somehow fashioned from his meager rations. His dark hair had grown long during his 3-year sentence, and his brown eyes held a quiet intelligence that unnerved even the Xerion guards. "Prisoner 4472, Naz announced, her forearms manipulating the blood extraction device with practiced efficiency. "Time for your quarterly genetic scan." Raza looked up from his calculations, offering a weary smile. "Another test, Doc? At this rate, you'll have mapped my entire genome twice over." "Standard protocol," she replied, though privately she admitted the human fascinated her. Unlike other prisoners who grew bitter or broken, Raza seemed to grow stronger, more focused. "The Galactic Council requires regular monitoring of all species classified as potentially dangerous." He extended his arm without resistance. The needle pierced his skin, drawing the crimson fluid that would be analyzed by the prison's quantum computer system. "Potentially dangerous," he repeated with dry humor. "Still can't believe they classified humans that way, just because we figured out faster-than-light travel in under 5 centuries. Naz secured the sample in her portable analyzer. The routine test would check for diseases, genetic anomalies, and update his biological profile. She'd done this procedure thousands of times across dozens of species. "The computer will have results in 10 minutes, she said, beginning to leave. "Naz," Raza called softly. She paused, surprised he'd used her actual name instead of her title. "Do you ever wonder why they really keep me here?" "You were convicted of unauthorized system breach," she replied automatically. "I accessed their historical database. That's it. No theft, no sabotage, just reading." His eyes returned to the equations on the wall. "Did you know the Xerion Empire has falsified first contact records for over 2,000 years? Before Naz could respond, her analyzer chimed. She glanced at the screen, expecting the usual biological readout. Instead, her secondary heart stopped beating. The display showed Raza's genetic profile, but beneath it, in the formal script reserved for highest priority communications, appeared words that made her 4 hands tremble. "Release him immediately, Your Majesty. Authorization level Omega Prime." "That's impossible," she whispered, staring at the screen. Her scientific mind reeled. The analyzer was connected to the Empire's central database. It couldn't malfunction in such a specific way. "What's wrong?" Raza asked, noticing her distress. Naz backed against the energy barrier, nearly dropping the device. The title, Your Majesty, was reserved for the hereditary rulers of the Xerion Empire. But she was just a medical officer, a mid-level bureaucrat from the outer colonies. "The machine," she started, then stopped. Protocol demanded she report malfunctions to the warden immediately. But something deeper, some instinct evolved over millions of years, told her to wait. With shaking hands, she ran the test again. The same message appeared, but this time with additional text. "Genetic match confirmed. Bloodline verified. Empress Naz Valkaran, lost heir to the Xerion throne." The analyzer clattered to the floor. "Doc?" Raza stood, pressing against the barrier. "Naz, what's happening?" She stared at him, then at the device, her world tilting on its axis. "The test? It says..." She couldn't finish the sentence. "It says you're royalty," Raza finished quietly. Her head snapped up. "How did you?" "Because I've been watching you for 3 years. The way you carry yourself, the way guards defer to you even though you don't notice, the way you naturally command respect." He smiled sadly. "And because I've been solving a puzzle this whole time." He gestured to the equations covering his wall. "These aren't random calculations, Naz. They're genealogical algorithms. I've been mapping bloodlines using the genetic data from medical files you've processed. That's illegal. So is hiding the rightful empress in a medical wing while pretending she's a commoner." His brown eyes met her 4 dark ones. "The question is, who's been hiding you and why?" Naz sank to her knees, overwhelmed. 3 years ago, she'd been found as an infant in a crashed shuttle, raised by Xerion colonists who claimed her parents died in the crash. She'd never questioned her origins, never wondered why she was the only Xerion with her unique genetic markers. The Empire's been ruled by a regent for 30 years, Raza continued. Ever since the royal family supposedly died in a tragic accident. But what if one survived? What if they've been searching for her ever since? Why would a human care about Xerian politics? Raza was quiet for a long moment. Because humans have a saying, the truth will set you free. And because... He hesitated. Because the database I accessed 3 years ago contained records of systematic oppression, genocide, species manipulation. The regent hasn't been protecting the Empire, he's been enslaving it. Naz stared at the analyzer, which continued to display her true identity. If this is real, then you have the power to change everything. Raza's voice carried conviction. Not just for Xerions, but for every species under their rule. Including mine. The prison alarm suddenly blared through the corridors. Heavy footsteps approached, security forces moving with unusual urgency. They know, Naz whispered, clutching the analyzer. Then choose, Raza said urgently. Accept who you are and fight for what's right, or let them silence the truth forever. The footsteps stopped outside the cell. Through the energy barrier, Naz saw a dozen heavily armed guards led by Warden Crix himself. Medical Officer Naz, Crix called, his voice strained. Step away from the prisoner. There's been a complication with the genetic database. She looked at Raza one final time, seeing not a prisoner but an ally who'd helped her discover her birthright. Rising to her feet, she felt something shift inside her, a presence, an authority she'd never recognized before. Warden Crix, she said, her voice carrying new weight. Lower the barrier. By right of blood and birth, I claim dominion over this facility and demand the immediate release of prisoner 4472. The warden's face went pale. Your Majesty, he whispered, dropping to one knee. Behind him, every guard followed suit. The barrier flickered and died.